What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. We are presented by 1-800-Flowers.com, DraftKings official flowers for Valentine's. We got a great show for everybody. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us a 5-star rating, and check us out here live during Super Bowl week here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Today and tomorrow, that's all we got left in Super Bowl week here. Leading off, you got the show re-airing the next day from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back to next week. And we got a banger for you guys today.
Oh, my gosh.
Super Bowl week is reaching its crescendo right now, and let this guest list be a testament to that. We are looking to be joined hopefully soon by Ram-star rookie wide receiver Puka Nacua joining us shortly. We got Tony Pollard from the Cowboys, who's now a free agent. Sam Hartman, our former Notre Dame quarterback. Dan Marino, Joe Montana, the hometown kid Maxx Crosby with the Las Vegas Raiders, and Jordan Fuller all joining us today. It is, Dad, I mean, as a veteran of Radio Row who's done this for quite some time, we're drinking it through a fire hose right now, and I'm kind of fired up about it.
These are the 2 days. Thursday and Friday are the 2 days where, I mean, just it is star haven around here. And these guests have been nice enough to sit down with us, whether live or we tape them because there's so much going on. It's been very cool to have some of them sit down with us. It warms my heart to still know we can get these type of guys. And it's a very nice thing just to have the conversations with them off air before you get on air. It's a cool thing. And also, by the way, this is Super Bowl week, but we'll talk about it a little bit today. It was also NBA trade deadline that just ended.
Oh, by the way.
That basically just ended. So there's some moves there that we'll talk about a little later in the show. But yeah, the sports world keeps on churning.
It is absolutely a meat grinder this week right now. We are all getting chewed up and spit out by it, but it's why you get into all of this. And we also, by the way, have a football game coming up this weekend. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle, and we'll get to talk with Joe Montana about that today, a guy who lived a lot of Super Bowl experiences, had a pretty good amount of success with that, on just what it's like to start to dial in at the end of this week, some of the anxiety that builds up for guys that are doing it for the first time, since we know we have a lot of those first-time guys. But we also know we got some studs on the way here.
Yes,
we talked about having some superstars here today. Oh, and he comes bearing gifts.
Oh, we love
Puka
that.
Nacua, the Rams star rookie wide receiver, here on behalf of Pepsi.
That's
and
wild
we got the
cherry.
Zero Sugar Wild Cherry.
Cherry.
Puka, first off, thank you. I don't know if those are props or gifts, but we're going to probably drink them
gifts.
here.
You for sure enjoy them. That's my favorite Pepsi drink right there.
Any guest bringing gifts, let me tell you, is forever welcome on this show. Especially us, because we're big food and drink people.
Exactly. So first, how's it going, man? Is this your first Radio Row experience getting out here doing all this?
First Radio Row experience, first Super Bowl experience. It's been a blast. It's been crazy. I was born out here in Las Vegas, so it's nice to be back in the hometown.
Oh, that has to be really nice, and especially coming back as a star. I mean, was there a point at all during the season, as we were all analyzing games and talking about games and continually mentioning your name over and over, that you were realizing just what you were doing?
No, I think there's still moments. I think of all the way up to right before the bye. I grew up a Packers fan. We're playing at Lambeau Field, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like I'm dreaming. I'm looking up at the big screen the whole time and the Lambeau thing. And then my first catch is against Jair Alexander. And I love watching DBs, and he's one of the ones I used to watch, and especially being a Packers fan. So I'm like, I'm right before the play, like, is this happening? Like, somebody wake me up. Like, what's going on?
Don't drop it.
Literally. I did end up catching it, but I was like, man, I was so nervous.
I mean, it was so many guys talk about that welcome into the NFL moment and trying to make it normal, playing amongst all these guys that you've grown up watching, you allowed yourself to kind of enjoy a lot of that excitement, it sounds like.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think even just one of the experiences here, I'm trying to I'm not necessarily a fangirl, but I'm a fan. I'm watching all these people I'm walking through, and 6'27" Cam Newton. It's like yelling, "Hey, Puka, come sit." I'm like, no way, like that, dude. I'm like, do I even play football? Cam Newton swallowed me. He gave me a hug, and I was like, oh my gosh, like thank goodness you're not playing football because that would have hurt.
Oh my God, that is a big, strong man. There's no doubt about it.
But in all honesty, coming in as a rookie and doing what you were doing, when or at what point, A, were you so comfortable, and B, realizing I can make this transition? Because for every position, as a former D lineman and O lineman, the transition to the NFL is different. For a wide receiver, it is. So at what point were you like, okay, I'm comfortable now?
I think it happened pretty early, and honestly, I think the confidence and just like the trust that they threw me the balls in OTAs. Matthew threw me a little in cut, and I just remember thinking like I caught it as such a smooth transition. I made a move on the post safety. It was maybe a 5-yard route, but it was before I was one of my first reps with the ones, and I was like, man, I don't know if that was a crazy route or if I did anything really spectacular, but I'm glad I caught the ball. I remember just making a move on the post safety and be like, yeah, that was good, right? And I was like, that was good. And then he threw me the ball, his catch, smooth transition. I was like, okay, I think things are going to go on the uphill. And then every opportunity come, and I just felt like I was in the right moment at all times.
At what point did opponents start to say, okay, well, you know what? We can't just single up this rookie here. He's shredding people, so we have to change the game plan for him.
I want to say maybe close to the Indianapolis game, but especially when Coop came back, we played the Eagles back at home, and I think that was like a moment where I remember our first series, Coop came out, we were hitting on all cylinders, and we were moving the ball really well. And then next series, they came out, and I just remember every time we were breaking the huddle, we do a lot of motions and stuff in our offense, but I'm like seeing Bradbury and Darius Slay sit in the middle of the field, and then Slay's going with Coop, and then Bradbury's coming to, like, following me to my side. I'm like, that's like when you do in Madden, you single, like, hey, you make sure they match up by speed and overall and stuff. And I was like, wait, what are they doing? I was like, and then I was like, he's following me. It took me one play because I seen him sit in the middle. And then the next play, he did the same thing. And I was like, all right, they definitely they know what they want to do.
It's amazing to see it start to unfold and start to see the picture come together like that. Obviously, you mentioned your guys' offense. We'll talk about Sean McVay, but Matthew Stafford, your quarterback. I thought it was interesting before the season. There was a lot of this conversation about can Matthew connect with younger players? How is he as the older guy in the locker room? What was your experience like coming in, meeting Matthew Stafford, and becoming a part of this offense with him as the leader?
Yeah, I guess it was a little bit of a little weird just because I was like, Matthew Stafford, I've been watching that. I was like, I showed the clip of my mom where I was like, oh, coach, I can still throw. I'm like, Mom, you know who this guy is? Like, this is the most legendary clip of all time. So it's like, I'm trying to like fangirl, but also gain the respect and trust of like, hey, I understand that I'm a professional now, and I want you to be able to trust me, and I can be where you need me to be. But I feel like it was easy. I feel like I tried to force myself into the Breakfast Club. I was showing up when there wasn't an invite for me, and then they never told me to stop coming. So I was like, oh, they must like me.
So did they not talk to you in that? You just sat in the back and kind of watched while him and Coop were talking?
Yeah, 100%. The first couple of times during training camp, I seen them going back into the office, and I was like, wait, we already watched the film. And then they're in there together, and I opened the door, and they're still watching tape. So I was like, I slid in, and then it was a little while. They're like, wait, Puka, you're in the same reps as us. Why have we not been talking? And I was like, oh, I didn't know if you guys actually knew I was in here.
So now, listen, the secret's out. You did what you did. You set all kind of rookie records. Interesting enough, we love talking about it because we all went through it. Any kind of incentives at the end of the year. You got yours, right? You needed 4 catches and 29 yards. Sean got it for you and got you the hell out, which I thought was really cool. But now you're found out. Everybody knows about you. So how do you go into this offseason to now a great individual, but it's a team game 100%. Of this offseason preparing and for what this team needs to do?
Yeah, I think like the role model for me has obviously been Cooper Kupp, been the big brother to me, but I think something that I've tried to, like, he played in 100% of the snaps of when he came back every time, whether it's a run play, pass play, and he's given his best effort every time he's out there. So that's something I want to work in the offseason of being able to be out there. I love being a part of the run game and blocking. That's one of my favorite things to do as a wide receiver, actually. But that just to be out there every single play, I think to give our team the best chance to win. And then I just recently learned I led the league in drops, so that's something I can't never can let that happen.
Well, that's
again.
a bad thing you learned that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, terrible thing to learn.
It comes with the territory of a lot of the volume that you're getting there. You mentioned the blocks for Sean McVay in this offense. That seems like it's non-negotiable. Him as a leader coming into that offense, what did he stress to you early on?
Blocking. I can think of like one of our first walkthroughs on like a Wednesday practice where I have our first walkthrough, and it was like, all right, so we're in a split right here, and when you move 2 inches, the linebacker is going to relate to you right here, and the safety is going to come down and fit. So you got to understand, like when you move, then you cut your split a little bit. This is how the defense is going to react. He's like, and the guards eye progression is going from the mic to over here, and I was like, holy cow! He went through every single position and he communicated it. It was so clear, and I understood every single word he was saying, and I was like, I don't even know the offense, but him for the ability to sit down and take the opportunity to explain everything. I was like, okay, now I know I got to go get this guy because with the defense moving. And then you saw, and when I cut my split, the backer moved down and the safety fit. I was like, he's a genius.
Wow. It's like a magic trick.
How did he do that?
Yeah.
So even though for all you did and how great you were, what was the toughest transition from college to the NFL for you?
The play calls, like the playbook. I guess some of the as I got more reps, the concept started to make a little bit more sense, understanding where I was going to be on the field and stuff like that. But the play call in itself, Matthew, I remember the first time I got in that one huddle, like in a team setting, and he and on one break. Whoa, time out. Time out. Like, I didn't hear a word you said. And he's like, no, I tagged you. And I'm like, I didn't get the tag, all right? I missed everything you said.
Help me. Oh, my God. Puka Nacua with us. We want to get to what you're with here on behalf of Pepsi here in just a second. But I have to ask, because you were the star of a viral video the other day that I saw. It was your girlfriend that put out when you guys went shopping.
Oh, yeah.
And she showed how she set you there with your snacks and everything. So I got to know, how often does that happen where you're going out there, and do you have a favorite mall food court place that you like to hit up when you're in that position where you got to kill some time?
Auntie Anne's is actually, because I get a little sugary drink at the little cinnamon bites.
Okay, there we go. My man.
That is actually pretty often, because I'm not a big fan of walking around. I was like, I get my steps in, I'm going to get a workout in somewhere. So I'm for sure just like, hey, if you got we get me some sweets and a drink, I'll be posted up.
Understand that's your girlfriend. I've been married 36 years. I do the same thing. So
exactly.
You'll continue
I'm on
to
the
do
right
it.
path then.
Yes, you are.
It works. All right. Well, speaking of great drinks here, tell us about what you got going on here with Pepsi this week.
Yeah, so I'm going to be out in front of the Horseshoe this week on Saturday from 2:30 to 4. It's called Sip City Secrets. So everybody can. I know we're in Sin City. I was born out here. I don't want to any too crazy secrets. I know there's a lot of wild stuff that happens out here in Las Vegas, but we want to hear your wild secrets, and come bring your confession. It's going to be written on a piece of paper, invisible ink, so nobody else will see it.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
It'll go in the vault. It'll be put away. You can trust us, so it'll be safe, and then you can relieve your conscience of whatever you put on the secret.
Oh, man.
But when you come confess your secret, you'll get a code and a chance and an opportunity to win some sweet Pepsi gear, and then some gear for the Super Bowl as well. And then also, if you want to come hang out with me, I'll be out there for a little while.
You'll get people that want to come hang out with you.
Especially, I would say walking back as the hometown hero now.
That's very
getting
cool.
That chance to puff your chest out is awesome. It's a great deal there. Before we let you go, we got to get a pick on the Super Bowl game. Obviously, very familiar with the 49ers in the division. You know a lot about this team. So what do you think they do well, and can they win this game?
Their defense is a very physical defense. I think the ability to play with 4 down D linemen all the time is something that sets their defense apart from most guys. And I got to shout out all the BYU alumni. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I'm big Andy Reid, the BYU alumni, so hopefully he gets it done. But also big Fred Warner, he's the guy who holds it down in the middle. I remember when we played them in week 2, he hit me, and I'm at the bottom of the pound. He's like, yeah, Pook, this not BYU no more. And I was like, you're telling me, Fred, I can't breathe, and you're right on top of me, dude. I was like, but it's funny. So I hope the BYU guys do well.
All right, there you go.
Awesome.
So a Chiefs win, but rooting for the BYU guys here is the official in for Puka Nacua. Puka, can't thank you enough for the time,
Appreciate
man.
it,
Congratulations on all the success. We're rooting for you for more great stuff to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome,
guys.
brother. Appreciate it.
We're keeping the gifts.
Oh, yeah, please do. That's my favorite one. I'll have lots of them today.
Oh, there we go.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Right fuel there by Pepsi. You know what, Dad, it's so encouraging what you saw there, because you hear from so many guys. And I remember, for me, I got into training camp with the New Orleans Saints. I was in the off-season program, and I remember sitting there at breakfast, and Drew Brees comes over and sits down at the table, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I've watched this guy win the Super Bowl. I've watched him my entire young life coming up to that point. So many of those guys are that way. And you do have to kind of reset quick and kind of act like it's not as cool as it is.
Right.
It's awesome that Puka was able to have the kind of success that he had as a player, but also really seemed to enjoy and savor, I'm getting to live my dream right now.
Boy, he really did. I mean, the way he seemed to appreciate it. And then you find out how the Breakfast Club, he was accepted into it. Veterans realize, because you go through it as a rookie and then on your way up, that veterans are like, okay, you're here, you're in this locker room, so, you're good enough to be here. So we're going to accept you. Now there's still, steps you got to climb to reach up to that level of hanging out. We had, in the different teams I were, you could, especially in Miami, you could hang out with the equipment manager in a special spot in the equipment room. Not everybody could do it. There are things like that all over the place.
You got your spots there where those are the guys you've known in the building. And that's such the difference. You have those relationships in college, but you're there 4, maybe 5 years max.
Right.
In the NFL, you got guys that are around some of these organizations 8, 9, 10 plus years and have all that time. And certainly for Cooper Kupp and for Matthew Stafford, that relationship he talked about there, while it hasn't been quite that long together, they're both veterans. They've both been together through some battles that led and ended in a Super Bowl. And so trying to break in and get that kind of comfort level with a quarterback that's already got a guy he's been so ingrained with, it's just such a testament to how what he said there. Every time he had an opportunity with those reps, he's like, all right, that was good. We made something happen on that play, because you've got to bank that confidence slowly over time at the beginning to get to a position where these guys are going to trust you day in and day out.
I loved him saying, when I asked him, when did you realize you were going to get that extra attention because how well you were doing? And he said when Cooper Kupp came back, and all of a sudden he's expecting one thing where the coverage would be with Cooper, and it came to him, and it was like, wow, okay, and that's no slight of Cooper Kupp. It was more a pat on the back to Puka for how well he had been playing. Really, really impressive. Love it. I mean, so easy to root for, right?
Yeah, it's an incredible story for him in this season. And, we've talked about a lot of rookie guys in the last couple of years. Brock Purdy, that story there. There's been a bunch of good stories. Dad, we're now a couple of days away from the game. And we mentioned we're going to talk to a lot of guys, and Dan Marino and Joe Montana especially, who have experience getting to this big game moment and what goes on in this week in the lead up. For you, thinking back, obviously you didn't get to play in a Super Bowl like we talked about, but as you got close to playoff games, some of the biggest games of your career, and you're getting late in the week like this, what's the thought process? What's going on in these locker rooms?
And certainly for different players, it's a different thought process. I only made it to the divisional round one time, and that was in '92. We beat New Orleans, and I was in Philly. We beat New Orleans in the wild card, and then we went to Dallas for the divisional round. We fully thought we were going to win. But for me and the type of career I had, it was, don't make that mistake. Right? Make sure you do your job and take care of your responsibility and make the play if it comes your way, and then run your ass off to the ball when you have to. Is make sure my part of the picket fence is taken care of. We had Reggie White, and Clyde Simmons and Seth Joyner to make those big plays. It was also, we had lost Jerome Brown. So, there was that heavy heartedness that we were as well. We had the locker there with still made up for him especially in New
I forgot that was that season.
Yeah, in New Orleans and then in Dallas. Yeah, very, very, very difficult. But that was kind of my thought process, while the top players, I'm sure, have a different thought process, but that's kind of where I went. I didn't sleep well, the night before the game, and I made sure I was always one, because I was a late draft pick, and I know you were the same way. I knew my playbook, and I knew the game plan 2 days before the game was, so I didn't need to do any extra studying. I knew it, so I was always secure in where I had to be and what I had to do. Then it was the physical part of making sure I was, defeating my block and being where I needed to be.
Yeah, that's, I think, the difficult part, and I always relate things back to the national title game that we played.
You got to get ready for the biggest game in college football, the national title game.
And it's so different, though, because back then we had 40 days to get ready for this. Now, these teams have 2 weeks. They have the bye, which for these players and these kind of professionals, that's an eternity. You do put in most of the game plan the week prior, and that's what I always remember, is that feeling of, I've never been more prepared for a test mentally in my life. It's the only game I didn't throw up before. I always puke before games.
That's amazing.
Because I was nervous, but I was so...
biggest game.
I remember being on the sideline and going, if I'm not prepared for now, then I'll never be prepared for anything based on what we had put into this, the practices, the game plan we had drilled over and over. I had never felt more ready for a moment. Obviously, that proved not to be true, and there's little things that happen at the beginning of the game. I mean, I remember undersetting guys when I had slide help coming my way early in that game because you're wound tight those first couple of series. I always needed to get through that first third down. Once I saw what a defense's best pitch was going to be, whatever blitz they were going to bring when we got into a third and passing situation, to kind of settle in and finally play with my feet under me. And so there's that gap between, hey, you can be as mentally prepared as you want, then you got to go out there and actually play it. And for the guys that are getting ready to play in this game, one of the flashbulb games, right? You go out there and see the kickoff, and there's nothing like it. Watching that, knowing you're the only show in the world, but to then have to go out there and get in that mode where you can start to treat it like a normal game again, getting over that first hill.
That's it. And no matter if you're, the best player or the last one in line, it's like once the game starts, you're now, because you've done it for so long, you're now in your mode of just playing a game. But in those between plays or breaks, there are times you look around and you realize the moment.
It is the moment indeed. We are just getting started with the moment here at Radio Row today. Coming up next, we got Tony Pollard, free agent running back, kicking off a great day of guests live in Las Vegas here on GoJo and Golic. All right, awesome to be joined by, now I guess we have to say free agent running back, Tony Pollard here, longtime Dallas Cowboy here on behalf of Ascent Protein. How's it feel to be the one guy out here selling something healthy in Las Vegas? I feel like you're the only one.
Yeah, I might be the only one out here with some healthy product.
Yeah, that's okay. We're going to get to talk about that and the healthy part of it because I'm looking at it and I want some of it right now as well. So first, let's look back, at the season, with the Cowboys and with Jerry Jones. It's like every team wants a Super Bowl every year, but Jerry is always very kind of loud about it. What was the atmosphere like when, unfortunately, that didn't come to pass at the end of the playoffs?
I mean, it was tough. Anytime you take one of those losses like that, in the playoff game, it's tough, especially for us to go out there and perform the way that we did when we know we're better than what we put out. That was a hard one.
Yeah.
You know, I really hadn't watched football since. You know, I probably watched the Super Bowl, but I hadn't been locked into it since that game.
Is that your normal process at the end of the season? Do you take some time, or was it because it hurt so bad the way it went down for you guys?
I normally take some time, but that one was a little different. So
Sure. For you in general this year, a lot different. You were the lead back. You were the bell cow this year. There was no more Zeke Elliott, a guy that you'd known a ton in that backfield. So how much did that change your approach and the way you had to go about things this season?
just being smart with my body, taking care of my body, doing a lot of, you know, pre-treatment, you know, before anything that goes wrong, getting more massages, just doing more body work, trying to stay on top of things.
How will you go about the process being a free agent now when, you know, hopefully a lot of teams are looking at you, of preparation any different of what the offseason's like for you as opposed to the last offseasons?
I mean, it's pretty much the same for me. You know, go to the gym, work out with my trainer, get some on the field work, then probably get some Pilates work and, you know, repeat.
Pilates the big thing.
You're a Pilates
seriously.
guy?
I did it coming out. I'm gonna start back this offseason.
Okay, I like that, man. I moved to Los Angeles this last year, and it feels like you got to do yoga or Pilates, and so I wound up on the Pilates train here. Nice to meet a fellow. There's not a lot of guys that show up in my Pilates classes, so this is encouraging.
How about a 61-year-old former athlete trying Pilates? Would it work for me? I feel like my body wouldn't move very well in there.
You will get better over time.
It'd be ugly at first, huh?
You'll loosen up.
I heard a rumor that Zach Martin had also gotten into Pilates. Can you confirm? Zach was a teammate of mine at Notre Dame. Have you seen him get on the reformer at all?
I haven't been to Pilates with Zach Martin, so I can't confirm that. But I do believe him. So
Could you imagine the puddle
credit.
of sweat he would leave on a reformer?
I was going to say, so I had Zach as a younger guy on the team at Notre Dame. Zach, one of the vets for you guys in Dallas. What's his presence like on that team now? What's Zach like as an old head?
Man, Zach is OG. You know, he finally giving them vet days. I don't know why it took so long. Man, he's a dog. He's a competitor. The way that he attacks the regular day, like, you can tell why he is the way he is. Like, when you watch him do walkthroughs and when you watch him go out there and practice, and even if it's a jog through tempo, like his hand placement and everything is just like game reps.
I feel like we can ask this because Mike was a teammate of his. We're friends with his family and such. Do you think if you had to answer yes or no, he still has the first dollar he ever earned?
Yes.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like a guy that spends a lot of that money around there. He's been wearing the same outfits I've seen him since he got drafted.
Yes, he definitely. I would definitely say he had the same dollar.
So, from the free agency standpoint, not so much you, but your position. It went through a lot over the last year. Your position. What is going to make your position be looked at differently for not just you, but for all running backs going forward as free agents?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Well, let's put it this way. How do you feel from last year to this year? Obviously, you played in the franchise tag this last year. So much of the conversation last offseason, whether it was you or Saquon or Josh Jacobs out here in Las Vegas, was about, hey, there wasn't big money out there for the position. Do you feel more hopeful going into this offseason? Is this something that you and other running backs talked about during the year? How did you feel about it overall?
We kind of got together and talked about it during the year, but it's kind of hard to tell right now. You know, free agency really hasn't just started. Right. You know, the season's still going on. So I would say after the season's over and free agency gets going, then we'll have a feel for it, a better feel.
So let's look at this game and specifically San Francisco, a team, you know, you're familiar with, a team that in the playoffs has struggled against the run. Talk to me about their defense and what we can expect to see in the Super Bowl.
I mean, they're a physical defense. They fly around the field. They got linebackers that can make every play on the field, sideline to sideline. They got a lot of playmakers on defense, guys that can get the ball out, guys that can lock down a side of the field. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a good one.
A lot of people think of backs on backers, whether it's in pass protection, you getting out into routes, which I know is certainly a skill set of yours. When you look at Fred Warner and this linebacker group, what makes him so special in particular as a player?
I would say his IQ for the game and his athleticism. You know, just when you put those two together, you know, him having the knowledge for the game and then him having the skill set, you know, being physical, having the right size, having good speed. So, yeah, it's hard to stop.
So, listen, I know running backs love to have runs for touchdowns or catches, but say a long run for a touchdown, you know you love that. How does it compare on a blitzing backer that you stone, where you get a block and you know you got that block. Is that better than a touchdown run at times?
I ain't gonna lie, that's a close second.
Okay.
That's a close second.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of ranking things, we got two pretty good running backs in this game: Christian McCaffrey for the Niners and Isaiah Pacheco running for the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you watch a lot of these guys during the season? Do you notice other running backs? And if so, what do you like about these two guys?
I mean, they're two great backs, two completely different backs, two completely different styles. McCaffrey, he's a guy that can do it all on the field. He can run inside the tackles, he can run outside the tackles, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can run routes, he can make guys miss open field, make plays on his own. Pacheco the same way. He's a very physical runner. He runs the ball like he's mad.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think he runs the ball like he bites people? Wasn't it your teammate that had that tweet that said he runs the ball like he bites people?
I ain't see the tweet. But he definitely runs the ball mad, though.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
So you've been in the league since 19, so before that, college, and even before that. Was there a running back as you watched the NFL that you kind of looked at and said, either I want to be in the NFL or this is the kind of guy that I like to be?
Yeah, growing up, I love Reggie Bush. I loved his game, watching him come up, at USC, then get into the league. So, yeah, that was one of the guys I kind of modeled myself after.
For my money, the greatest college football player I ever saw with my own two eyes. I'm totally with you on that. Before we get to what you're doing here with Ascent and how you're fueling your body this offseason, I do want to ask, again, we talked about your free agency, but Mike McCarthy's a guy that you've played for a while now. Saw a lot of players come out in support of Mike when his job was something people were questioning publicly. Why has he endeared himself so much to that locker room? Why did so many guys feel like they wanted to go to bat for him?
I would say he's a player's coach. He has a good bond with all the players on the team. He walks around, he communicates with us on a daily basis, just little random conversations. He looks out for us. He takes care of our bodies. He doesn't, he's not trying to just overwork us and just dog us out and then have us tired for the game. So just him being smart in little ways like that, it goes a long way.
So you said now that when the running back job was just yours and you weren't splitting time, take care of your body a little more. So it seems like you have a product here that's going to help you do that. So tell us about it.
Definitely, yeah. I teamed up with Ascent spring of 2023. They have a lot of different products. They got post-workout products. They got pre-workout products. They have plant-based post-workout products. A lot of different flavors to choose from, and you just mix it with water or milk. Either one is up to you. My favorite two flavors of the post would be chocolate or the vanilla bean. And the pre-workout, I would say it's the strawberry lemonade. That's my favorite.
Ooh, okay. Strawberry lemonade.
All right.
See, I'm a chocolate guy. What you brought here, that would be me, but strawberry lemonade.
Yeah, especially with the pre-workout there. You need something nice and fruity going into the workout there. You get the sweet taste after the workout there. What's going to happen is we're going to go through this offseason. We're going to get you out to Los Angeles. You and I are going to go do a Pilates class, and then we're going to post-workout with this. Sound like a plan?
We can do that.
I will meet you guys somewhere after the Pilates class because I'm not doing the Pilates class, so I'll do that.
You're not built like us athletes here.
So for the game, what we're asking everybody here, who do you think's going to win, and what do you think the score will be?
Who do I think? I'm going to go – it's hard to go against Mahomes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say – 24-17.
24-17 KC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, there we go.
There it is.
Tony Pollard, we appreciate the time, man. Best of luck this offseason. We're excited to see where you land and ready to watch your ball again next year.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, fun one for us. This feels like a home game.
Yeah.
Now we have to say, unfortunately, former Notre Dame and Wake Forest quarterback Sam Hartman joining us here on behalf of DirecTV for Business and the Ronald McDonald House Charity. Sam, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. It's really cool to be here. Obviously, it does feel like a home game. Some familiar faces. Obviously, the Domers, as I've learned, and I'm learning still the Irish lingo, but. Yeah, like you said, it's a very cool thing because being at Notre Dame, I got to work with an incredible charity. And now with the help of DirecTV for Business, I get to come out here and really just represent an unbelievable cause. I think the cool thing with, like you guys know in South Bend, is the community as a whole is so tight-knit. And the Ronald McDonald House and Ronald McDonald House everywhere does such a great job for the community, for families in need. And here to this week, DirecTV's partnered with them, and they're going to kind of host some families, do some great things, and then personally I get to go back during Pro Day and kind of visit the same house and donate and help and cook. And really the cool thing throughout the entire season is we win every home game. We'd go on a Friday and go visit, and it's selfishly, it's unbelievable because it reminds you of how truly blessed we all are to be doing these things and healthy and not what some of those kids and some of those families have to go through. And so always just an unbelievable experience to be able to do something like this, but also represent such a great cause.
It's a reality check, isn't
Yes,
it? I mean,
absolutely.
and they have Ronald McDonald House right there in downtown South Bend. I know Marcus Freeman, the coach, is very involved in that. But it is kind of a cold, hard reality check of, okay, this is why I'm here for these kids, and it can make you think.
It's incredible. So, again, great work by DirecTV for Business in conjunction with the Ronald McDonald House Charities, everything going on there. And, Sam, you hinted at it. This is part of your experience, the impact you were able to make in such a short time in South Bend. Now that you're looking back on it in the rearview mirror, what did you take away from that experience, the good, the bad, and everything in between?
I mean, it's hard to say anything was bad, right? People will look at the losses, people look at the bad plays and say, that was bad. Well, yeah, no crap. I think the coolest thing was just the embrace that I felt. And, I felt like I'd been playing there for 6 years, but it was only one. And I felt like there was kind of I don't ever want to disrespect the teams before me and the great players and the guys that are playing in the Super Bowl here, but it felt like there was a little bit of a jump to Notre Dame and to be synonymous with that in a sense and have that as a backing. And when I went to the Senior Bowl, just having the Notre Dame stuff on was just such a different feel. Everyone, oh, Notre Dame, okay. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty dope. Trust me, Notre Dame quarterback too. Don't forget the QB tag.
Yeah, exactly.
I might be riding that coat for a while.
So now you start the journey. We saw Michael Penix Jr. here, who was at the Senior Bowl with you. He started his journey to Indiana, ends up at Washington. You at Wake Forest, end up at Notre Dame. And now you're in a journey that you probably have been looking at as a kid all your life of playing big-time college ball, but then the NFL is kind of the thing. So talk about the beginning of that journey and how that's going.
Oh, it's like you said. I think everybody, and the cool thing, like with Penix and McCarthy and Daniels, we're all training together. So we're all pursuing this dream together. They're all out here, and we actually are training after this. So I got to start doing some calisthenics before.
There we go.
And so don't worry, Dad. I'm training. I know I'm adventurous. I know. There's a lot of connotations. Me being here. Why is he there? He should be.
Right.
Trust me. Right. As soon as this is over, I'm headed to the football field. We're working. And I think it's a dream. It's also, you got to remind yourself it's what you've been wanting to do since you were 5, 4, whatever. And you can get caught up in it for sure. I think there's a lot of lights, there's a lot of expectations, a lot of predictions, a lot of people telling you can or you can. And I think the biggest thing I like to do is just run my own race. And I think it started. I learned that lesson as a young college student whenever I played, back in the olden days. I think you were still playing.
I was going to say, Sam and I crossed the paths for a little bit in college,
and
for sure.
that was the crazy one. I saw Drew Tranquil earlier, and I'm like, golly, he tackled me when I was like, man. Because the guys on the Notre Dame team would be like, yeah, he was a legend. I'm like, a legend, man? I played against him.
Yeah,
Like,
what are you talking about?
Like, come
Ease
on.
up with that.
Yeah, and he's a really good player. Hits very hard. I think he was one of the first people to ever apologize for hitting me after the end of the game. I was just like, that's all right, man. That's how bad it was.
Did that bother you more than someone
way
who would
more.
get up and talk
way
crap to
more.
you?
I was like, no.
Yeah, come on, man.
Started talking back now. So, no, was it's really cool. And then I think the big thing is, like I said, is just running my own race and not walking in there and saying, hey, I'm the quarterback in this. I don't walk around here. I don't stand at some crazy stature. I don't play with some crazy arm strength. I play the game, and I do what the coach tells me, and when I need to make a play, I make a play. And I think there's a lot to that, and there's a lot to the experience, and then there's also a lot to the resilience of coming back from the different things I've been through. And I'm just excited. It's unreal.
There was a 7th-round pick a couple of years ago that's doing pretty good right now.
I was just going to say, when you see what's going on with Brock Purdy, is that part of you that looks at it and goes, with him, Aiden O'Connell, guys that played a lot of college football, veterans coming in, does part of you look at that and go, all right, there is an opportunity for me to make something happen here?
Oh, for sure. And I think that's the cool. I mean, you even look at Mahomes, who was, he was drafted higher, but if you redraft his draft class, where is he going? And the very first pick. And so I think the quarterback position is unique, and I think that there's a lot of just different situations that you can find yourself in, and maximizing those situations. And I always I hate for him, but I love that. I'm sure he uses that fuel. I don't know him that well, but Purdy, people calling him a game manager, people saying he's not. I'm like, okay, you go game manage then. You go game manage into a Super Bowl. All right, buddy. Yeah, all right, guy.
Please.
I hear you. And so that's the process too of that noise that you get, and it's obviously the thing about going to Notre Dame from Wake was the amount of attention and the amount of media and the scrutiny and the criticisms and also the praise and everything you got was a lot more. And so it prepared you for this level, and talking to other NFL guys and talking to guys around this whole process has been really cool, because I'm like, every time I see a quarterback or somebody who's kind of around my, hey, what would you do differently if you could do it again? And there's so many great nuggets that you get from all these guys, because they've been through it and they know what I'm going through. And so that's a huge part of being out here too, is you're around, the elite of the elite.
You made such an impact in such a short amount of time in South Bend. You're now getting ready to carry that on to the NFL. I do, before we turn the page on that, I feel like I need to ask you and address the elephant in the room. Did you ever expect, going to Notre Dame, with everything that came with it, the fan base to be as overwhelmingly thirsty as they wound up being?
I think for Coach Free, 100%. He's, I would say for Coach Free, 100. Walking behind him on the player walk, it was pretty wild. I felt bad for some dudes that were standing there with their wives, because, man, oh, man, they were not holding back. And I'm like, golly, man, it must be nice. I'm walking through there. I'm like, if I'm Joanna, I'm like, what in the world? I'm walking with them if I'm her.
Exactly.
So. Listen, the cheers that when your name got mentioned or Marcus's got mentioned were ridiculous. I just did an interview before, and we were talking about it. I said, name me a better-looking quarterback coach in the history of college football. I said, I'll wait. So, I mean, Mike can't really get in this conversation, but you and I can, about being as good looking as we are
100%.
and how we have to. How does your mom deal with all the people
I
thirsting
think
after
she
you?
takes credit for it, and I think she definitely should. And I think the big thing I get asked is now the hair, right? The hair is obviously the talking point of every interview I've done and every conversation that I have, which is what it is. I'm not going to complain. Sorry.
Hey, we didn't ask about it.
Yeah, exactly. You guys did it.
Right.
Which I thought that's where it was going.
No.
I was just going to get up and walk off.
No, it's I appreciate the apology, Sam. That's big of you.
It's all good. And so I think it's a lot of she's getting used to it. I think everybody's getting used to it in my family, and just kind of the difference. It's the Notre Dame kind of wave and ripple that caused a little bit of a larger than life deal. And so it's all very cool, and you take it in and you realize it might be annoying now, but when I was a freshman in college, that's all I want. You wanted the attention, you wanted to be the guy, the quarterback, whatever, and you'd like it to be a little bit more about throwing the ball well than your hair, but hey, we'll take it how we can get it.
You mentioned all that added attention. Before we let you go, I don't know if you've talked to him at all. Any advice you'd give Riley Leonard, who's getting ready to take over what you just were a part of?
I've been able to talk to him a little bit, and I would just say enjoy it. I think the only thing I look back and regret is, you just get caught up in it, and you want to chase that next win, and you want to chase that next thing, and you want to chase all these different things. Is soak it in, because it was boom, the first time that I met you guys, and we kind of were like, hey, you ready for this? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Had no idea. And so I just look back at some of the games and some of the moments and just saying, man, just put your 2 feet in the ground and go. It's still the same place. It's still the same football. It's just a few more thousand people and a different colored helmet, and, a lot of really cool moments ahead.
Well, time to chase the next dream.
For sure.
Yeah, it's going to be great to watch.
Congrats on everything, Sam. We're rooting for you, brother.
Yeah,
Hope it all goes well.
Appreciate you guys. Go Irish one last time.
There you go.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. We are presented by 1-800-Flowers.com, DraftKings official flowers for Valentine's Day. And if we're going to talk about GOAT quarterback debates involving Patrick Mahomes, we might as well bring on one of the GOATs to do it. We got a chance to talk to Dan Marino. Here he is. Awesome to be joined by the Hall of Famer, Dan Marino, my father's former teammate, here on behalf of M&M's. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. Just hanging out. Been here for, since last night, so it's been a long morning, but it's good.
As we know, these are long days. Mike was I'm gonna cut his knees out here.
Oh,
he was gonna ask right away. He was gonna ask you if you remember me as a teammate, weren't you? Weren't you gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dan Marino's a big deal. He's got so many guys that have come and gone in his atmosphere during his career.
I remember him very, very distinctly. Yes, we had some good teams actually. We played together. We had
we did. So this week, you went through this obviously. The story of you and the Super Bowl and kind of, I know it was a while ago compared to now, but just how different this week is and what these players are going through.
So I think it's just understanding that it's a big game, big football game, but you have to kind of make it in your mind that, hey, this is just a game I got to play and we're going to win a championship. And instead of putting a lot of pressure on yourself, which there's going to be pressure anyway, regardless, right? I mean, you're going to feel it internally no matter what happens because you know it's the Super Bowl. But as far as players are concerned, I think they're all different. And they all act in a different way as far as how they want to handle big game situations.
Well, certainly one side of this in Patrick Mahomes, very familiar with these big game situations. And a guy, physically, the gifts he has, your name gets brought up a lot as he's starting to climb so many of these record books and the all-time greats. When you watch him, do you see some of yourself in Patrick Mahomes?
Well, what he does is amazing. It really is. And truthfully, it's fun to watch because of how he plays the game and the fact that, he moves in and out of the pocket very easily and keeps his eyes downfield and can make throws like anybody ever has made throws. And that's what makes him so dangerous because when him and Kelsey get on the same page and they're running around and that's just very hard to defend. But he's a very special player and he's hard to bet against because that and just how competitive he is. You could tell how competitive he is.
Do you think, and a lot of people have brought this up, we had this conversation this week, that he's already a guy that can be talked about amongst some of the all-time greats in the sport?
Yeah, no doubt. He's got 2 Super Bowls and he lost one, and he's may have a chance to win another one in 4 years. Or is that 5 years?
4 years, yeah.
4 years, yeah. 4 years. That's pretty strong. So I'd have no problem saying that.
And then the other side of that, Brock Purdy comes, Patrick's a first-round pick, so the expectations, like your expectations, Brock comes in as 7th-round Mr. Irrelevant and then gets labeled with the game manager, which is like the F word in football, but he seems, it's amazing how quickly, and maybe there's a difference of what the talent was to not be a first-rounder and go to technically a bad team like you do and get drafted later and go to a better team.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes when you view players like that, Brock Purdy, he's small, maybe his arms aren't strong enough, but, the kid plays with a chip on his shoulder knowing that he was the last, and he had a great college career. He was had a great college career. So him going into San Francisco probably was a great opportunity for him because they had a lot of talent and he had to work his way up. And to me, that's what makes him what he is today because he had to be through a lot of adversity, tough kid mentally, and I'd love to see him win personally, just because of the story. And he wears 13.
There you go.
There you go. Never hurts either.
Yeah, it never hurts.
Never hurts either. With both of these guys, there's certainly talk about both quarterbacks, but also the offense they play. And Andy Reid on one side and what he's done as a coach for so long, Kyle Shanahan. As you look around at the league now and what it's become, so many guys from both of these coaching trees here, is there an offense you look at now in the NFL and go, man, I'd really have liked the chance to play for this guy or this coach or this play caller?
Yeah. Andy Reid is a good name because his success, and he's been around the Green Bay Packers. He's been through all that with all those different coaches, and the league is it's a lot of the same stuff. You see all the jet motions and everybody's going different ways, but it's in a lot of ways it's the same. It's really the same with blocking and tackling and what the philosophies are of your coordinator and your players, making sure your players work inside your system. And if not, then make sure your players are successful with another system or somehow make something up, right? That's all part of that coaching stuff, you know? And you asked me about these offenses. I always preferred not as much motion, not as much just a lineup. More like if you watch how Peyton Manning used to run,
Sure.
2x2 and a back and deciding what the coverage is. And
what is it about that
protection.
appeals to you more then?
Because I could see where the blitz is coming from a lot easier, and then the personnel that's out there, and just you see the one-on-one matchups. To me, sometimes turning your back with play action is critical if you're running play action a lot, and a lot of these teams do, and so does Kansas City and San Francisco.
It seems like the league now is built with all the motion and everything more on confusion than I talk about it a lot. It's no matter what, it's a game of one-on-ones, but with the way defenses will play 6 up but only 4 will come, but what 4 are coming, so it seems like more confusion art.
Sure, there's no doubt. And then also just the flow of the offensive linemen now, how they run all those the outside zone plays and how they're coming off the ball, that's all different, and how they block play action. Like they're very aggressive when they block play action nowadays, where they actually almost get past the line of scrimmage, and they get a lot of draw, and that's why it's that's why it's working now.
It's worked incredibly well. Dan, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about your former team in the Miami Dolphins and what they've started to build now. When you look at that core of Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa, do you feel like that can be the group that gets them over the hump now?
Yeah, I felt like the last couple of years that, especially this past year, that we were a team, the Dolphins, that could beat anybody really on any weekend if you're healthy and you're playing right, and I felt good about that all year, and I think we grew as a team. And Mike McDaniel's offense and Tua in that offense, it'll continue to grow too, because that's the first year, second year. Now we have Tyreek Hill and Waddle and everybody, and they should get better. It should get better for sure.
We're going to get to the M&M's commercial. It looks hilarious. But before that, can players, like you got to the Super Bowl early and thought, okay, I got time, I'm going to be back. I talked earlier in the week to Trent Williams, 14 years in the league, walk-in Hall of Famer, his first Super Bowl. Can players, while you're playing, appreciate going to the Super Bowl and have in the mind, I may never get back, or is it like, I think I'm always going to get back?
Yeah, I think you're always going to get back until you're like 28 years old.
Gotcha.
And then it's like, man, we got to make this happen soon. It's got to work for us. So, yeah, it does. I think that's just being honest. I'm sure everybody thinks about it that way, right? So when I was 23 playing in the Super Bowl, I thought for sure I'd be back 2 or 3 times at least, It never happened. So it's just one of those deals.
I mean, our year together in 93, we were 9-2. Then he goes and gets hurt in the pocket in Cleveland. Yeah. We lose our last 5 games.
That was one of our best teams.
Yes.
It really was.
Best record in the league. We lose the last 5 games. He's out, and we didn't even make the playoffs, and that was the end of my career.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That was a tough year, yeah.
Well, you mentioned getting back to the Super Bowl. Dan, you're back here now, and Dad's referenced the commercial a couple of times.
God.
So talk to us about what people
should
expect.
It's M&M's Ring of Comfort. M&M's peanut butter. M&M's peanut butter ring of comfort, and they're making a ring for all those almost champions.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those almost champions. And Bruce Smith is one.
Yeah.
And T.O. and there's a lot of other ones. And so it's that comfort ring, and you can actually see it in Las Vegas here somewhere.
Okay.
They have it at the M&M store. You can can go by and check it out. Take a picture with the ring of comfort.
It looks hilarious.
Is any part of
real
the ring
diamonds.
edible?
It's real, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
perfect.
And well, we don't want to eat the one ring that they're making. We could eat all the other M&Ms.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to ask the O-lineman question every once in a while.
But
right?
the cool thing is, Bruce, I already said, Bruce is in it, T.O. and Scarlett Johansson. So, Johansson. Well, I said it wrong.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, it looked like it was a lot of fun to do.
Awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Everyone's looking forward to that. Dan, before we let you go, last thing here, you got to pick for the game here. Who do you think takes this done? Gets this done?
I want San Francisco to win because of their quarterback, Purdy, but I think Kansas City's going to win.
As you said, always tough to bet against Mahomes, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he makes it happen when it counts.
Yeah. Absolutely, as you did for a very long time, Dan, and still do now. Really appreciate the time, Dan. Great catching up with you.
Appreciate it.
Exactly.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic live from beautiful and now actually sunny Las Vegas here. It is Thursday of Super Bowl week. We are rolling on. We're presented by DiGiorno. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. And a reminder, friends, all week long, DraftKings has been featuring a new happy hour boost that'll be live from 5 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We have just hit 5 o'clock Eastern. Our latest happy hour boost is now live on the DK Sportsbook. You can bet both teams to rush for a touchdown boosted to plus 200. You're going to like that one. Christian McCaffrey, Isaiah Pacheco, plenty of weak run defense. Tune into the GoJo and Golic every day this week to find out the new happy hour boost. And in the meantime, while you're doing that, we've been talking about legendary quarterback status all week, Mount Rushmore, GOAT stuff. We just talked to Dan Marino. Can I interest you in a little Hall of Famer and Notre Dame legend Joe Montana sitting down with us to talk about the Super Bowl matchup featuring both of his professional teams? All right, very excited to be joined by a living legend here, Hall of Famer, former Notre Dame great.
Teammate of my brother Bob.
Teammate of Bob Golic, my uncle. And obviously, we're here basically at the Joe Montana Bowl. Former 49ers and Kansas City Chief great Joe Montana, kind enough to join us. How you doing?
Great. Crazy being here in Vegas for a Super Bowl.
I was just going to say, for the era that we played in and what gambling was thought of when you brought up an over or under a line, it was like an announcer doing it kind of in an innocuous way to now being in Vegas.
I have a theory, and you tell me what you guys think of it. I think the NFL has been involved in that part of it for a long time.
Really?
Really?
So why are there injury reports?
Oh, well,
Yeah?
we know why.
Oh, yeah.
You're exactly right.
Right?
Yeah.
So?
Yeah.
Who wants to tell the other team? And isn't it funny how the line comes out right after that?
That is interesting. And now what they found is a way to monetize it, right?
Exactly.
Now they found a way to make billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah. Hey, we should have been doing this out front for a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? And we finally arrived here now, which has brought us all here to this big spectacle. And I mentioned, Joe, these are the two teams that you played for here heading into this game. So what's it been like seeing this week? Obviously, so much of what you did and what you won in your career with the 49ers here. Is Super Bowl week your most comfortable place on earth, considering how much time you spent playing in these?
Well, not in here. Over there. A lot more comfortable. I mean, this is a crazy week to be around. The best part of it is, I get to run into guys like this, your dad and people that you played with and you've known for a long period of time, all these old guys running around. And I just ran into LT.
Luckily not on the field.
Yeah. And, just bring back all the memories that you had. And but in all case, I could skip this week.
But let's talk about the when you're a player on the field. You look at Mahomes has been to a few of these. Chris Jones, our great D tackle, has been to 4 now, his 4th in 8 years. You winning the 4 that you did. How are they? Each one I know is different in its own way, but how does it progress from the first one to the 4th one of a comfort level?
Well, I think the first time you go, you have no idea what to expect, and I think you will find out soon. I think today's Thursday, so I don't know when the families come in. All hell breaks loose, right? I don't like my room. I want to go here. I want to go to that party. I want to do this. I want to do that. I don't like where my tickets are. I mean, it gets out of control. And luckily for me, Jennifer took over. She goes, I'll deal with all this. You just go do what you got to do. And made the week easy for me as a player. But, yeah, it's right now, it's been, 10 days. they're ready to go, right? We usually had so many fights by now.
Oh, really?
Practices.
Oh, really?
Oh, God, yeah. Everybody's all tight. They want to go. They want to play. And more fights during this week than any.
Did you sleep well the night before all of them, or was it a progression, the first one to the fourth one?
I never slept well before any game the night before.
Right.
I always tried to get a good night's sleep the night before, the 2 nights before, because I know I wasn't going to sleep well. And it was just on and off. And I made a mistake in the first Super Bowl. I used to ride the last bus because I didn't have a lot of tape stuff to get done, so I could get dressed quickly and out. And we got stuck in traffic because the vice president was coming to the game, so we could see the stadium, but we weren't moving. And
Wow.
Bill was on the bus. It was kind of funny because we had 2 equipment managers, Chico Norton and Bronco, and Bill stands up on the bus. He knows everybody's getting tense because we're looking. We got like 20 minutes. We're supposed to be out there. All these guys got to get taped. Bill stands up and goes, "Guys, hey, don't worry. I know what you're thinking." But the game started already, but we're winning 7-0. He said Chico scored a touchdown, Bronco kicked the extra point, and we're up 7-0. So
incredible job diffusing the situation. And I'm sure that's part of it for the coaches, is sort of managing all that emotion and that pent-up anxiety you talk about. For a guy in Brock Purdy, who is now making his first Super Bowl start as the quarterback there and has kind of been the subject of a lot of the conversation, what would your advice be to be in him in that position?
You know, it's hard to say, look at it like another game, but I always waited to get hit. I wanted to get hit first early in the game, just to kind of tell you you're in the game, right? Because no matter what you do, is first coming out, it's the Super Bowl, you're excited, and the faster you can get that out of your mind, the better off you are. But for him, he just has to do what he's been doing, right? I think there was a little stretch there of 2 or 3 games where they struggled and he struggled, but I don't know if he was. I don't hang out down there, so this is just a theory. I just don't know if I guess he had gotten a concussion at some point.
Right.
I'm not sure he was 100% to me. It didn't look like the same person.
Sure.
And then the switch kicked back in again, and then he started playing like he'd been. And so you're doing it, man. You're making great decisions. You're using your feet when you have to.
So you're not buying into the game manager label?
No. Well, you have to manage the game,
right?
No matter what at that position. It's not like you plan on managing the game. You just have to manage the game, right? And for them, they obviously want to keep Mahomes off the field as much as they can. Do you want long drives? Yeah, if you can get him. Will you take the touchdown if you get a long touchdown? Absolutely, right? But just go out and play what you've been doing. I mean, you've been playing. You have to figure out your offense, right?
Sure.
There's something that makes that offense run. For me, it took almost 3 years to get with Bill. First, me to learn the offense is crazy, but also to be comfortable enough. And I think he realized that I understood that. We didn't have those guys that could fly and go deep.
Sure. Right.
So I was accurate. I made good decisions, and I understood that. Hey, look, I'm going to give you this guy down here. But in the end, I'm going to give you a couple more guys down here. So if you don't like first down, you don't like that guy, you don't have to force it. You're going to give it here. Defenses think kind of crazy, right? Hand the ball off on first down, he gets 4 yards, right? Can't give up 4 yards on a run. I drop back to pass on first down. I don't like that. There's the tight end, 4 yards, right? Same 4 yards, but in their mind they're going, okay, we stopped them.
Held them to 4 yards.
Held them to 4 yards.
Exactly.
Right? And the next thing you know, you're inside their 20 and going, how'd they get here? Right?
Yeah.
And it's just understanding that process, that when the time is to take a chance, to try to make a big play. Do what you do, and that big play will show up, and you'll see it. And you don't even have to try.
So the thing I hear, again, 9 years, never got near the Super Bowl, unfortunately, so I don't know the feeling of it. But everybody who I've talked to always says the sooner you can make it like another game, the better off you are. And I always thought, God, is that hard to do? So in the Super Bowl, especially in the first couple you played in, do players press? Is there that kind of that nerve factor and press a little bit?
I think so. I mean, it's just natural, right, when you first get out there. But I think once – the pads start hitting each other and the helmets start hitting. if you're still thinking about it, you're doomed, right?
Yeah.
You got to get back to that. I mean, how many times do you hear the crowd?
Yeah.
Do you hear a crowd when you play? No, you don't hear. And so when you first go out there, you hear it, so you understand it. And then once the game starts, you got to get back in that mode. And for me, it just took a hit here and there just to keep me awake.
That hit worked pretty well, and to the tune of 4 Super Bowls and a lot of overall success. Joe, we know you're out here this week on behalf of Pfizer and the importance of getting vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. What can you tell us about what you guys got going on?
Yeah, we're out just trying to get an awareness out and how vaccination can help with that. For me, being over 65, I'm now more at risk for it. I've been vaccinated, but also that younger people who have underlying conditions like asthma and diabetes are also at risk. And it doesn't matter what season it is. It can happen anytime. And we just want people to understand that vaccination can help with this. It's a serious lung disease. And that you can learn more about it at knowpneumonia.com. And that's KNOW, pneumonia.com. So, but yeah, we're just getting the rounds and just doing this, and we've been out for a long time with this, and it's been fun being with Pfizer and being a part of it.
It's a good message to get out, no doubt about it. As Mike mentioned, we started, you played for both of these teams, but is San Fran a little more in your heart than KC? Do you have still that special feeling for them, or does it not matter?
Well, I've been in San Francisco since 1979, so I've been there a long time.
Yeah.
And so, there's a special place, but, in true honesty, I totally enjoyed my time in Kansas City. I probably made a mistake in retiring. We have a really good team. But that last concussion was one of those things that made me start thinking about my family. And, I didn't want to leave the game unable to, participate with them as they're growing up. And you already missed a lot of the younger part of it, but loved Kansas City. The people were awesome. My teammates were fun and awesome. And we had a good defense, and Marcus came down there, man.
Yep.
And, we had a good offense, and we were running a lot of the stuff that we did in Kansas City. And so I was just not used to my 2 wide receivers. I always told them, I go, guys, you need to slow down a little bit. I can't. You're going to outrun my arm.
I always loved watching him, obviously, when he played at Notre Dame, then played against him in the NFL. And the one bad memory, they came to Philly one time when he was in San Fran. We were up 28-7 in the fourth quarter. 4 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter, beat us 35-28.
Oh, it's one of my craziest memories was the last touchdown I threw, right? We were winning, and we just had to get a first down, and we could run the clock out. And we ran a little read route by the back. And the back, he can go anywhere he wants, right? He sits down, and he's wide open. And I throw a go to Jerry. And you could see George Seifert goes, he grabs and I go, and Jerry catches it for a touchdown, and I get to the sideline, and George says, "You're lucky that was a touchdown." I go, I know, the back was wide open. So he was.
Worked out okay.
Yeah, worked out okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to know when you can make a play.
Yeah, exactly right.
When you make a play, it's the ultimate difference here. So, Joe, we really appreciate all the time. Thank you so much for joining us out here. Always great to run into some fellow Domers out here around Radio Row. We saw Sam Hartman before. We saw one of the all-time greats here in you. So we really appreciate the time.
Thanks, man.
No, my pleasure. Great seeing you guys. Oh, as always.
Dad, I thought that last story was particularly compelling. Am I supposed to be able to take you seriously right now wearing this hat?
See, that's the thing. You got to be versatile if you want to wear a hat like this, enjoy yourself, but still give stellar analyzing stuff.
Are you blinded by my chain over
I
here?
am. Look at the bling you're wearing.
Yeah, this is great. We've been in Vegas long enough now. Honestly, we're all just playing for second. Juju Gotti from the Levitard shows over here in this incredible sequin blazer. If you guys watched the Dan Levitard show this morning, you saw him balling out, the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
Greg Cody getting introduced by Flavor Flav.
Are you kidding me?
What a time out there.
Yeah. All right,
but I was going to say, I was glad you were covering up your hair for a second. It honestly made me feel better about myself in here. But, Dad, one thing in talking and listening to Joe Montana talk about that last moment where he said, I went ahead and threw it, and he said, you better have done that. It made me think of what we talked about with Trent Williams the other day, who was so great, obviously Hall of Famer in his own position, but was talking at opening night with us about how one of the things he looks at and appreciates in other all-time great players when he watches them is when they're willing to take chances that aren't
Right.
coached. The
Yep.
things that your coach is going to get mad at you if you screw up. You got to know, hey, if I make this, I got to make the play, or else it's going to be my ass on the backside, and I'm willing to eat that because you've made enough of those plays. It really is what separates the greats. The rest of us go through trying to work our technique, trying to do what we're coached, because that's how you get in the field. That's how you keep your job. When you're ready to make that next step, it's the comfort through repetition to go and take those risks. And it's what we see so often from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the guys that are able to win this consistently at the top of the league.
And it's a lot of it is know your place is the wrong term. I guess it's know your ability.
Yeah.
Because I was such a big time game plan studier of situations. Third down, second down, down and distance. Again, for those that don't know, when you get a game plan, 3rd and 7+. X amount of, this is what they like to run. These are the formations. These are the percentages, blah, 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 blah. So when I got into a game, so it's, 2nd down and 4 or less, there's these running plays that they like. I would see the formation. I'd say, okay, in my mind, okay, I know they like 1 or 2 or 3 of these plays out of this formation. And then I would think to myself, before the play, because you think during the play you're dead. Before the play, I'm like, okay, 99% sure this play is doing this.
Yep.
And I know the guard that I'm the 3 tech on is doing this. I can go behind the block. I know what he's going to do.
Yep.
But I'm going to go behind it. But then in my head before the play, I'm like, I got to make the play.
Yep.
If Jerome Brown goes behind a block and maybe doesn't make a play, that's forgivable.
Yes.
If I go behind a block and don't make a play, I might find a seat on the bench. So it's amazing in that short amount of time what goes through your mind. And occasionally I tried it, or I would spin out of a block. And my D-line coach is always, don't spin out of a block. And I'd spin out of a block knowing I better make the play. So it's amazing. But the great ones like Reggie White, I do whatever he wants because he could basically do whatever he wants.
Because more often than not, you make that play.
Yes.
There was a discussion that happened a while back. I remember, I think it was someone from the ESPN analytics department was talking about Aaron Donald as a run defender. And the idea was that he wasn't actually a great run defender and the things like that. And part of it was when he's taking the risks to go upfield. With so many great pass rushers, they don't play the run, a lot of them. With Aaron Donald, it's not necessarily that. It's that he's upfield so quick, sometimes there are going to be vacated gaps.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to be out of place. And a lot of times we hear the tapes, bad defense beats good offense. When he knows, hey, I can get around here because I know where we're going, and I believe physically I can get there in a way few can't. It does create some of those folds, and there was sort of that dissonance about it when it's like, no, he's an exemplary run player because he gets – elite athletes in football, I always say they mess with time and space. They're angle benders. You think you have an understanding of how fast a linebacker is going to flow over the top, and then you go and try and block Fred Warner, who's going to get there faster and stronger than most of the guys you're going to play against, and so it messes with the math. That's what those great guys are able to do, and that's why they're able to take chances like that.
So, and to your point perfectly on that, so Aaron Donald, if you're a guard and you have to reach Aaron Donald, you know this is one of the quickest guys out here. I got to step like a mother to reach him. You know who else knows that? Aaron Donald. Easier to go under the block when the guard is getting out there to reach him, so he comes underneath the block and is making the tackle 2 yards deep. Reggie White rushing on the outside, right? He rushes on the outside, a tackle knows, I got to fly out there. So as he's going out there, Reggie rip and hump because he knows that guy's getting out quick. I'm using his momentum to use against him as he goes out, and I'm just humping back, throwing him away and making the tackle. So they were able to use, because of how people play against them, to their advantage.
It's what happens with these spatial awareness geniuses, and that's what you end up getting a lot of in football. And as we look at the matchup in this game coming up this weekend, Chris Jones, a guy that we've talked about a lot, presents that problem because he's a guy that's too big to move the way that he does. And so all of those different math problems, those are the individual equations. And for the Chiefs blocking the 49ers on defense, guys like Nick Bosa, it's a little bit different. They don't move around as much. That's much more of a stagnant group. They're a guy that do just line up 4 down, lighter boxes, and count on their guys to make plays. With the Chiefs, you're doing all that math on, this is what Chris Jones does. I know what he's capable of doing. Drew Tranquill's this linebacker. He's got pass rush ability. But they're going to give you 8 different fronts in a game. And they're going to give you 9 different blitz packages that all of a sudden complicate everything that you just tried to lay out.
Times you don't want to watch the ball in the Super Bowl, and again, I talked to both Chris Jones and Trent Williams. earlier this week. And
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
Jones said,
Man.
I look for the one-on-one matchups because he moves everywhere, and you're going to see him over the guards and probably more the right tackle. But he did say, I like one-on-one matchups. So if I'm against Trent Williams, I damn well know it's going to be a one-on-one matchup because you know in San Francisco you can leave Trent Williams be one-on-one. Watch it. Anytime you see those two lined up against one another, forget the ball, watch that.
And you know Tony Romo's going to be out there with the teleprompter. Oh, Jim, look up here. We got two of the all-time best going against each other. Who's going to win? I don't know, Jim. Coming up next, let's get a little bit more insight on that. Talk to one of the best pass rushers in the league and the hometown hero himself, Maxx Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders, joins us next here on GoJo and Golic. All right, awesome to be joined by the mayor of the damn town right now, Maxx Crosby, Las Vegas Raiders defensive end, kind enough to join us now. Max, what's it like, man? Super Bowl's in your backyard right now. You're king of the hill.
It's been incredible. You know, obviously I'd rather be playing, most importantly, but, you know, there's a lot of things going on around the city. So it's just great to see, you know, Vegas turning into one of the best sports towns in the country. And I think it really, you know, three to 5 years from now, I think it's going to be the sports capital of the world, without a doubt. So, yeah, it's been incredible so far.
I think you're absolutely right about that. How about for you? You've been in the league since 19. You're dominating it from an individual standpoint as well. But I talked earlier in the week to Trent Williams, 14 years in the league, finally got to his first Super Bowl. Does that start to go through your mind as the years start to tick by of, man, you know, that's really a place I need to get?
No question. You know, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. You could have all the individual success in the world, which is incredible. That's why I work the way I work to, you know, put myself and my family in a position where they don't have to worry about financials. But at the end of the day, when you're not winning, it's just not the same. I've been to the playoffs once in 5 years, so I want to be in playoffs consistently. I want to be in the biggest games and on TV. Like, that's what I live for. So for me, I want to do everything in my, you know, ability to put our team in a position to do that. So yeah, that's number one at the end of the day, win and bring the fourth Super Bowl to Las Vegas.
I want to talk about the future of your team, Antonio Pierce getting the interim tag taken off, which I know is important to you, but you mentioned the way you work. People always talk about the stats with you about how many snaps you play a game. My dad was a former D lineman, and I always complained as an O lineman that guys getting rotated out all the time. D linemen are always so fresh. You're always out there. What's the offseason like for you? How do you get yourself ready to do what so many others aren't able to?
Yeah, for me, I feel like there's a lot of good players, a lot of great players, and then there's the legendary players of their eras. And for me, the guys that are legends all separate themselves in different ways. And for me, the skill and all that's great. And I know I'm only getting better as a player when it comes to skill level and quickness and speed and all that type of stuff. But what separates myself is being the best conditioned guy in the NFL pound for pound. That's what I carry myself. That's how I train. I train all year round. I don't stop. I don't go on vacation for a month and then get back to training. The day after we play the Broncos, week 18, I'm still meal prepping. I'm still doing my recovery. Still doing everything to a T, and I'm doing it right now. So it doesn't stop for me. Obviously, there's times, where they're a little bit higher volume and a lower volume, but I have a great team around me. I have nutritionists, massage therapists, strength coaches, all through, the Raiders and, doctors and things like that. So I have, great people around me. I trust them, and I put my full trust in them, and I do it, it's literally 365 for me.
Is that something you learned by watching a vet? Like, how did you get into this routine now?
Honestly, it really came from, my biggest motivations are Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan. I mean, those two guys, I know they're not football players, but those are the guys I watched all their documentaries, all their interviews, how they do it, what's their process. Tim Grover, Michael Jordan and Kobe's trainer, has become a great friend of mine. So a guy like that, I'm constantly staying tapped in and just asking questions. I think that's the biggest thing in the league is just constantly staying curious. To stay at the top, you have to find new levels to get to because the margin of error is a lot thinner. So for me, the reason I feel like I'm taking big jumps every year is because I never got it. I never feel like, oh, I made it now, or I'm the guy now. It's like, no, like I know I can be better. I want to be the Aaron Donald, undisputed best at what I do. And I know I'm not there. There's still guys that, there's like a conversation around that. So for me, like when you talk about who's the best D tackle for the last 10 years, it's Aaron Donald every time. So I want to be that guy. So a guy like Aaron Donald's in my corner. When I was a rookie, I came in, I hit up Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Myles Garrett, all the top guys were like, what are you doing? How do you separate yourself? The Cam Jordans, the guys like that. What makes you you? And so that's who I put in my circle, all people that are the best at what they do and just constantly picking their brains.
So I think every now and then we need kind of a reset. People look at you now, they see Maxx Crosby, one of the best DNs in the league. That's where you are. But you got one scholarship offer, Eastern Michigan. You're a 4th round draft pick. You weren't supposed to come in and get 10 sacks your rookie year. So it's kind of for all those people out there who don't come in as the big name. I think every now and then we need to be refreshed to just what the journey was like for you, that you weren't always considered the top guy, to now being how the work it took to get to be the top guy.
No question. It makes me grateful for everything I have now because I had to work for everything I have. Every single day is a new journey. And that's why I tell everybody, it's like, you could have a great day, you could have a bad day, whatever. There's no such thing as bad days. I don't believe in that. You could have bad moments in your day, but overall, like, I take it one step at a time. If I'm doing something, my heart's gonna be in it, even though it's hard. Like even today, like I'm coming here, I got 3 hours interviews. I know what I'm in for. I'll be going till 7 all day. But regardless of it, I'm gonna put 100% effort into it because I don't wanna put anything out there that isn't my best, whether that's on the field, off the field. And that's just kind of how I embrace it. And that's something I had to learn and train. Like it's an everyday process for me. So yeah, being in, going into year 6 already, a lot of people didn't expect me to be here, but I don't look in the past. I don't look in the future. I just stay present. So every single day I'm working to get better. And then I look back and I'm like, damn, I've done a lot of things in a short time, but I know there's another level. So I don't get consumed with all the mags and the pats on the backs because I know at one point, even a couple years ago, they didn't even consider. They took me as a joke. Like they didn't consider me at the Nick Bosa level or the Myles Garrett. Now I'm in those conversations, and that's what I work for. And I know everything. You can't take it for granted. There's a lot of great players, top 10 picks, get all the hype right out the gate, and then you see them fizzle. I've seen it a million times. And for me, being a 4th-round pick, I know I wasn't supposed to be a 1st-round pick. I wasn't ready for that type of money at that age. I had to grow as a human, and I had to work for everything I have. So it makes me appreciate everything I have, and that's just how I operate every day.
It's earned, not given. And I know you've mentioned you thought you'd earned the right to have an opinion on what happened next with the head coaching job here in Las Vegas. So why was it so important for you that Antonio Pierce be the guy?
I took it upon myself to speak for my guys, my teammates, the coaches, everybody in the building, everyone that's there every single day. If I got to take some heat for putting myself out front and leading that, then that's okay with me, because I go to sleep at night knowing I know where I'm coming from. It's not for selfish reasons or whatever. Screw the Raiders. I'm not I want to be a Raider. Everyone knows I'm a Raider to the core. I got it tatted on me before I even played a snap. I'm a Raider to the day I die, regardless. So I just want everyone, my message, was really, I want everyone to be thinking, not 100%, not be me, but think at that level, how could we get better? Everything I do, I always say more is required, or is one day at a time, 1%. I'm always preaching that to the guys, because there's always more in another level you could tap to. I want the front office thinking like that. How can you get better? I want everyone to look in the mirror. I think, if not everybody's aligned, you're not going to be able to win a Super Bowl. The guys in the Chiefs building, there's a reason why they win. They have a formula. Everyone's working their ass off. All the best players, you talk to Patrick Mahomes, you talk to the top dogs, they're all very similar. I could sit here and talk to Mahomes for hours. Even though we're the biggest rivals, at the end of the day, I respect the hell out of him, because I know he's in the building all day. I know he's there, the last one to leave, first one to get there. That's how I am. It's no coincidence. So my message was, I want everyone thinking like that. If we're going to start from scratch again, they don't understand from my perspective, all right, now I got to have a clean out the whole D-line room, new coach. And I've been doing that, and it hasn't worked. So, if you keep doing the same thing, expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. So for me, I just wanted to be front and honest about it and be listen, I'm here, I'm doing this every single day. I sacrifice. I'm in the building 6 a.m. in the off season. When no one's there. I want everyone thinking like that so we can go out and win. I want to win here in Las Vegas. That's all that matters to me.
Well, and clearly your voice carried weight and that decision got made. So hopefully everyone is in line with that. Max, we know you're here on behalf of Invisalign here, part of the off-season project that you talked about there. So why are you partnering with Invisalign?
I got them in right now. I got the new Invisalign in, so fired up about that. I know, they came to me with the opportunity. They got over 400 guys in the league right now with Invisalign. So, they presented the opportunity to me, and, I never had braces as a kid, and I was like, might as well do it. I think it's a great idea. They obviously are the best of the best at what they do. So I think it perfectly aligned and worked out.
My wife and my daughter both had them as well. Let me tell you, I had braces as a kid. Invisalign's much better.
Sounds good.
Max, before we get you out of here, 49ers, Chiefs, rematch here. Who are you picking in the game?
I'm going with the Chiefs, even though that's tough to say. I hate both teams, just being honest. I don't like any other team in the league. I hate them all equally. But it is what it is. The Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes. He's the best of the best, and it's hard to bet against him in the biggest games. So I think Chiefs are going to do it.
Don't want to bet against him. Don't want to bet against you. Max, appreciate the time, man. Good luck this offseason. We're excited to watch you do it again next year.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic live from Radio Row here, site of Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are presented by 1-800-Flowers.com, DraftKings official flowers for Valentine's. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., and being joined to the desk now. Look at what's going on here. Get it up in front here. Super Bowl champion safety Jordan Fuller, kind enough to join us now on behalf of Sleep Number here. And we got some pillows going on here.
Yep.
There we go.
Oh, my God.
All right.
These are
love
incredible.
this.
All right. I'm going to get real comfy up here on set right now. This is good, man. How you
They're
doing?
multi-purpose.
Multi-purpose there. All right, there we go. Hey, are you a two-pillow guy in bed? Do you fold it over there?
I'm a one.
You're a single-pillow guy?
Yeah,
all right, there we
single.
go.
I'm a one guy, too. I try
one.
and sleep as flat as I can without being propped up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get the neck and the body
For
all
sure,
in line
for sure.
there. Side sleeper?
Yeah, side
Okay,
sleeper.
there we go.
Yep.
See, a man who understands how to take care of his body here at night. Here on behalf of Sleep Number, what do you guys got going on here this week besides giving great pillows for us here?
No, it's cool. Just hanging out, going around and talking ball and talking Sleep Number.
There you go.
It's just fun, yeah.
Sleep Number, listen, I have one. You know, they have a great, they're phenomenal for the players, the current players, the former players. I have one. I love it. You get the number you want to be comfortable with. It's fantastic. And now I'm going to add, I didn't have the pillow. Now I do. Because you gave this to us. The gift, it's a gift. It's coming with us.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're
that's
taking
yours.
these home.
That's yours.
There's no doubt about it. So, Jordan, obviously, back here around the Super Bowl site here, you're someone who's gotten over the mountaintop. You won a Super Bowl with the Rams back a few years ago now. What's it like being back around this week and remembering some of the things? What sticks out as far as memories of that week? Not the game itself, but the lead up to that moment.
I don't know. It's always different as a player. Well, I wasn't able to play in that game because I was out. But it's really cool being able to witness kind of the week of. But when you're kind of like in it, you don't experience all the stuff outside and stuff. So
you didn't know all this was going on around outside it?
Exactly. Yeah. So being able to experience this is really cool, and just seeing how many people the NFL really does touch. You know?
I bet you like the other side of it better than this side of it, huh? Actually being part of the game. As far as where the players are, now, was everybody antsy? It's Thursday. It's a couple days before. It's 2 weeks before a game. Everybody, did they start to get antsy now? Kind of a little nervous, kind of like, let's get going.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Because, I mean, especially with that 2 weeks of time in between, you definitely start to get antsy. And when you start thinking, it's like, this is probably the biggest game of my life. I don't know how, I hope I make a play, all that type of stuff.
Or I hope I don't make a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. There's all that. So I'm sure they're getting antsy right now.
Absolutely. Well, Jordan, you mentioned not being able to play in that one there. This last season, 2022, certainly a little bit of injury there for you. But this year logged over 1,000 snaps, a huge part of this defense that I think a lot of people were surprised, guy. You guys had so many young parts that had to step up on your defense. Puka Nacua got a lot of talk on the offensive side of the football, but tell us about your rooks on the defensive side of the football and these guys and why they were able to step up so well for you all.
Yeah, I think their first thing is just they're mature beyond their years for sure. Just super, super coachable, work super hard. I remember in OTAs, Byron Young, we were showing clips of him just sprinting to the ball nonstop. And he was one of the bright spots as far as effort for us day one. And that kind of just permeated for us throughout the entire year. Kobe Turner was special. I don't want to miss anybody. I don't
Hey, you know what? Those are just two of many that did a great job on that defense there.
We needed every one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. And you mentioned the coaching, what Raheem Morris has done and where he's going now to Atlanta. Talk about him and his coaching style and what you picked up from him.
Yeah, he's special. He's real big on relationships. If he's giving you a coaching point, you never feel attacked really. He's able to make a joke out of everything, but you get the point at the same time. He has a really, really cool way of balancing that. I think it's one of his superpowers, to be honest. He always keeps it light, but at the same time, super knowledgeable. And just puts us in positions to win.
Well, to put you in position, talk about. I believe you the second leading tackler on the team. So the position you had been in, what he does for you to get you to where you can be part of the play and the tackle.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into his play calling and stuff that I don't know about, but I know he's super, super detailed, and he knows exactly what his plan is every single week.
So what is Atlanta getting in him then as a head coach as far as a leader and the way that he approaches that?
I think he's a culture driver, culture changer. I really believe that he can really do some special things. I pray they win over there because he earned it. He earned this opportunity, and he's a special human being that, you know. And I'm just glad seeing him. I've seen some pictures and stuff like him of being like the head coach over there, and he's still himself. That's what I like seeing a lot. Yeah.
So how have you been in the league a few years now, and as we've talked about, dealt with some injury, but how would you approach this offseason now as a free agent in going about your business, but then trying to look around for teams and seeing that obviously you'll have interest from other teams as well, how you approach it?
Yeah. For me, I just focus on how good I can get on the field and my family and my relationships outside of the game. As far as the off season, I kind of just let my agent and the teams handle what they got to handle and leave the rest up to God. Really, that's really my mindset. Just try to show up next training camp as a better player than I was last year.
And just as a free agent, hope for choices, right?
Yeah,
where we have a couple people bidding because everybody kind of, and I get it. Everybody dances around the money thing, but hey, you try and make as much as you can. Yeah. But it's also who the coach is, and what the situation is of all that goes into it. But money is an important part.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in your guys' division, you obviously see this 49ers team twice a year. You guys are pretty familiar with them. Kyle Shanahan's offense, we hear all about it, the moving parts, different things there. As you're preparing for this team in a week, getting ready for them, what's the number one thing as a safety for you that you're focused on with this offense and trying to defend them successfully?
I always say, like, with them, it's equally as physical as it is mental because they try to mess with your rules and change the math as far as like coverages and even in the run game, like it's a whole lot with them. But also they're super physical. Like there's no playoff.
Sure.
There's no playoff versus them. So yeah, it's all hands on deck when
the physicality of certainly of the receivers and the tight end as well. Kittle is a guy.
It's everybody. Everybody's trying to block. Everybody's trying to run after the catch. Everybody's trying to score every single time they touch the ball. And you can't say that about everybody in the league,
Their quarterback's also been the center of a lot of conversation this year as someone who's on the back end in that chess match against Brock Purdy. What was the scouting report on him when you guys faced him?
He's very, very decisive, accurate quarterback, game manager, gets the ball to his guys on time and on target. And that's what he's asked to do, and he does that at a high level. So that's our scouting.
How much is paid attention to, because since Kyle Shanahan's been the coach, they've basically led the league in yards after the catch, of the focus of short passes, catch, and got to make that tackle? How much focus is made on that?
A whole lot, because, I mean, you see it all over the tape when you study them and stuff like that, but they get real creative, and, if they're running a bunch of in routes and you have guys in the middle, like, okay, they might cover that first one,
sure,
but then the second one's gonna so it gets tough. So they're smart over there.
So many layers to the concept. It's why Kyle Shanahan's been one of the best offensive play callers in the league, and it's why they've got this opportunity yet again. So you obviously very familiar with that team. We all know the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. You got to make a pick. Who are you picking in this one?
I got the Chiefs, just because the Rams, we don't like the 49ers.
I was just going to say, how much is it from the heart of not wanting someone in your division to win? Yeah.
It's more of that.
It is.
I respect that. You know what? We need more players willing to be petty inside the division. Absolutely.
We're not breaking down the game. The X's and O's are just saying, I hate that team, because they're in the division.
Absolutely. Well, Jordan, congrats on all the success so far in your career.
Thank you.
Sleep Number's got a great partner in you, bringing great pillows here to help us all get rested and right during Super Bowl week. Thanks so much, man. Enjoy the rest of the time, and we're excited to see where you wind up in the 2024 season.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on.
Appreciate it very much.
Awesome stuff. All right, guys, coming up next, we're going to get ready to actually finish off the show today. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you all heard, NBA free agency, the trade deadline was going down today. Came and went. We will recap everything that went on in basketball before we devote the full lion's share of our attention to why we are all here. Super Bowl 58, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers. Let's finish this thing off. It's GoJo and Golic coming back next. All right, time to finish off the show the way we always do. This, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to send you off into the rest of your day. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review us, leave us a 5-star rating, and check us out here live this week, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on the DraftKings Network, DraftKingsNetwork.com, YouTube channel, Samsung TV Plus, Roku, all that great stuff. Our show re-airs every morning the following day from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, and we'll be back in that spot next week. Yes. We appreciate everyone rocking with us in the afternoon so we can bring you a bunch of great guests. And if you missed us live for any reason this week and you missed our guests, our thanks today to Puka Nacua, Ram star wide receiver, Tony Pollard, free agent running back, Sam Hartman, former Notre Dame football stud quarterback, Dan Marino, the Hall of Famer, Joe Montana, the Hall of Famer, Maxx Crosby, the all-pro defensive end for the Las Vegas Raiders, and Jordan Fuller, free agent safety and Super Bowl champion, who was kind enough to join us here. You can catch that wherever you get your podcast or right here on YouTube as soon as we get done with the show.
Thought about it. I never sacked either Montana or Marino.
Really? Never got to either of those guys.
I was a teammate with Dan in my 9th year, but the other years, and I played him a couple times, never...
They're both slippery.
I will say, I hit Joe in a game in Philly right as he was releasing the ball that was intercepted.
Okay, there you go.
I get credit for that.
That's like a disruption, havoc. I think that would fall into like a havoc stat.
Pressure that led to an interception. So I did feel good about that until he, as I mentioned until he threw 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and beat us.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good like that. I think there's a reason he gets the fun ring and the cool gold jacket there. We get to be brought to you and presented by DiGiorno. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. And we mentioned it's Super Bowl week. We've been out here at Radio Row all week. We've got another awesome day of guests lined up for you guys tomorrow. Justin Jefferson's going to come by here. Greg Olsen, Emmitt Smith, Vernon Davis. Just an absolutely star-studded day. We did have the NBA decide to sneak in the trade deadline today.
Trade deadline today. How about that?
I mean, we're all around here peddling product. I got a Vegas chain on right now. Dad's been wearing a big hat. So we kind of had this thing get lost in the shuffle. So if you missed any of it, we'll get to this, that, and the third, which is sort of the NBA trade deadline edition. And, Dad, let's start with this. The 76ers acquire Buddy Hield. Still a report here. Sources are telling ESPN that they're acquiring Buddy Hield from the Indiana Pacers in exchange for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks, sources telling ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Buddy Hield, who's averaged 12 points per game on 38% shooting from beyond the arc across his 52 games this season as a Pacer. So not the most stellar numbers we've seen, but a guy who's definitely a better career three-point shooter.
The volume, I did not realize he's second only to Steph Curry since he came into the league in 2016 in three-pointers, 1,842 three-pointers. Did not realize that. Not play, 12 points. Again, we'll see what he can add. 12 points a game right now for the Sixers, who, remember, are going to be without Joel Embiid, so they're going to need some people to score and pick up the slack there and run and gun with some teams for a bit. Embiid will be out at least 4 weeks, and then we'll see how he comes back. But you see, as we're going to mention, a couple other teams that are in it are out there acquiring talent.
This is one of those things where it reminds me of the Waka Flocka meme where it's like, okay, like if you don't have Joel Embiid, Buddy Hield, okay, you're trying to bail out water in the sinking ship with a thimble right now. It's just, no disrespect to Buddy Hield, but we know how this team's structured.
Yeah, the water's coming in buckets and you're thimbling it out. It's not a great match.
Exactly. You're going to have a bad time. So the 76ers, again, hopefully Joel Embiid had the procedure. There's a hope that he's going to be back inside this season, but 2 knee injuries he's been dealing with this year. Obviously, getting towards the postseason, what kind of shape he'd be in. The gravity he commands on that court is what makes that whole team go. Dad, we will get to that. This official, per the NBA, not the trade that most Knicks fans, I think, had talked themselves into, as there was all this will they, won't they about LeBron James and the Knicks and what would happen with his future with the Lakers. The Knicks have instead acquired Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Detroit Pistons in exchange for Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. So they bring in some of the cavalry here, this Knicks team that has its leader in Jalen Brunson and a core that they've been able to trust there, but obviously I think Knicks fans had started to kind of talk themselves into grander ambition.
Again, Bogdanovic is 34 years old. He is averaging 20 points a game. He is averaging or shooting over 41% from three-point land, and he will be able to step in right away while Julius Randle is out.
Sure.
So he'll be able to fill that role right now, and we'll see how it goes. But you're right. The expectations of what we thought and heard around the trade deadline to what we're getting, are kind of not matching just yet.
But listen, the New York Knicks tied with the Milwaukee Bucks right now, 33-18, both at fourth place, third place in the Eastern Conference at this point. So been right in the mix all season long. Going to try and add a little bit of firepower down the stretch and see what they can make happen as we march closer and closer to the postseason. But I think that also, getting through all of this, all of the wondering about LeBron James at the trade deadline and what his status was going to be in Los Angeles going forward, is things had clearly soured. LeBron James and Steph Curry had kind of been in the same boat where, hey, you're playing great. You're exceeding our wildest dreams of what you can do at this age. But the team around you clearly is not up to the task of supporting that. And they're also not in a place anymore where I think they can just, LeBron's lifted and dragged plenty of bad teams to postseason runs and NBA Finals runs. But I don't think he's at the point where, he can stuff the stat sheet, but it just doesn't dominate the game the same way he could when he was a 22-year-old.
And look at Golden State. I mean, the transition being made, Klay Thompson not on the court, at the end of games now. So as we've said, we think it's the last year of that group. The core, the way they've been in Golden State. So while fun to watch play against one another, but again, these are two teams that are near the bottom of the playoff rung here.
Yeah, Golden State currently 11th in the Western Conference right now, so just outside of that play-in group there. The Lakers sitting at that 9 spot there. So we talk about the play-in tournament that has benefited in recent years from teams like Golden State and the Lakers being involved in that. Adam Silver getting a lot of what he wants in that concept. Loving the concept there. As we move along here and get to the third, Dad, Oklahoma City acquiring Gordon Hayward. Still a report here. The Thunder acquiring Gordon Hayward from the Charlotte Hornets for guards Trey Mann. I'm not going to pronounce that name. I'm sorry. And Davis Bertans, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Dad, this one I had to remind myself Gordon Hayward was still in the league. It seems like many moons ago we were doing the whole Boston Celtics thing there, and obviously injury has changed the trajectory of so much of his career. But now Oklahoma City, this young, exciting team, adding Gordon Hayward.
But sometimes you don't remember he's in the league because you don't see him much, in all honesty. He's averaging 14.5 points, over 4 rebounds, over 4 assists, but he hasn't played since December 26th. He's got a calf issue. Last 5 seasons, he's played 52 games or fewer. The injury bug has got him, and it happens. It's nobody's fault, right? But it happens. So you're probably trying to catch a little bit of lightning in the bottle here to see when he comes back from this, what he can give you.
And you're Oklahoma City right now. You're tied for first place in the West. So these are garnishes. These are the things that you do and maybe hope to get a little bit of an added burst around there. Some other things that happen around the trade deadline as well. The Milwaukee Bucks picked up Pat Beverly, reportedly. The Bucks received Pat Bev. The Sixers get Cameron Payne in a 2027 second-round pick. And, Dad, this is one, the Bucks, you talk about that commitment trying to reinforce defense with Doc Rivers over there. Pat Bev's been a guy that's had to make his living on that side of the court. Obviously, maybe not as effective as he used to be one day, but having a guy with that kind of mentality while you're trying to sort of shock that roster is probably a guy, at least mentally, you can bring over to help.
That's a guy Doc Rivers is going to love having, and people and the players, the teammates understand why he's going to be there and what he brings to the team. So, again, none of these moves are like, oh my God, wow moves. Some to fill spots for injuries, some to add some shooting while a different position. In the case of the 76ers, your big man is out. You bring in a shooter to help the scoring. But I don't know if it's anything, as we look at it, that really is going to move the needle.
No, which is amazing considering where we've always been with the NBA, where it was the league where we saw blockbuster moves in the offseason, moves at the trade deadline. And its NFL counterpart used to largely sit those out. And now we've seen in recent years the NFL's trade deadline has become a marquee event. Off-season free agency has really started to mimic that. So we get through this, and it's almost like, come on, I'm supposed to be shouting this league and burping up takes online. It's a bit underwhelming.
This is supposed to be Woj just giving us Woj bomb after Woj bomb, right?
Man, one of life's sweetest drugs.
It's exactly right.
Into the wild.
Him dropping the grenade, and we don't get that this year. So, hey, you know what? It happens, occasionally. So we live with it.
I wouldn't want to bury it too much during Super Bowl week anyway, because we got a lot going on. It has been a very exciting week, and we're marching towards the finish line tomorrow. Our final day out here in Las Vegas. Again, going to have a banner guest list here. You won't want to miss it. Some more great stars and voices around the game, as we'll give you the full breakdown also for Super Bowl 58. We'll give you our winners, prop bets, and more coming up tomorrow on GoJo and Golic.